Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's watch.
It may be in the trash.
Oh my gosh. It may be in the trash, right?
Yeah.
You bottled it up, then.
I was wondering, so she is digging the list of 8 or 10 things out of the trash they're going to talk about. It's good. It's good. I mean, I think it's good.
So I found the list.
So we're going to talk about all these things, huh?
No, we're not going to talk about all of it. We'll just talk about some of it. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll read the list. So this is the list I wrote. I said,
Oh my gosh. Okay, fuck.
actions speak louder than words.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Do you understand where that came from?
Yeah.
All right, this is good. I would recommend they wait until the morning after the alcohol's worn off, but let's see how this goes. So she says, actions speak louder than words. Do you know what that means? And he says, yes. Does he know what that means? Because that's a pretty general thing to say.
But it goes both ways, right?
It does go both ways,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, actions speak louder than words. Like, if I say something, I'm going to do it, right?
Yeah.
And I hope that you do the same, too.
Of course.
Respect.
Okay, is she just saying these are general principles that I'd like to be evaluated and present in our relationship? Or is it a direct comment on something that happened? Now, the respect bit, she's like, respect with a knowing look, I think, meaning that, you know, that woman, that 60-year-old woman in her 60s or whatever, disrespected me, and so I need you to respect. Now, maybe it would be great if she would say, this is what I mean by respect. I don't mean that you have to, like, kiss my feet, but if you did this or did that, it would have made me feel better. Or he could ask. This is another great thing you can do in your tense conversations with people, is to avoid assuming that what you're saying is being communicated and understood. And also, when you're being told something like this, that you would understand what is meant, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like, social awareness. Like, can you read the room? Like, when someone's, like, saying, like, a rude comment to me and you're, like, giggling and, like, touching her, like, why would you do that?
Okay. Social awareness, read the room. Yeah, I don't think it's great to bring this up because this is harder to... It's not like a choice that people are not socially aware, right? But then she gives an example and says, you know, when a woman is laughing at me or something, and then you're touching her... It's yeah, okay. So she was, or at least she's reinventing or maybe she is remembering it accurately, and that's how she would describe it.
Saying, like, a rude comment to me and you're, like, giggling and, like, touching her, like, why would you do that? For me, like, for you to be with, like, some random, like, woman and she's, like, calling me out for being, like, jealous and stuff.
So then he defends himself, which isn't great. Maybe some people would agree with him in this moment, but it's not going to help. Even if, and I said this in one of the previous videos, even if you think your partner or the person that you're conflicting with or having a tense conversation with, even if you believe that they're being unreasonable, it isn't usually helpful to try to point out that they're being unreasonable. If you want them to be open to the idea that they're being unreasonable, which might not ever happen, the best way to get there is to find common ground and to empathize. You don't have to, you know, to validate doesn't mean to agree with. To show compassion or to show understanding does not mean that you are co-signing on the idea or on the premise, or that you're saying you're right. You know, to validate doesn't mean you're saying you're right, I'm wrong. She is saying that, well, what'd she say exactly?
And, like, touching her, like, why would you do that? For me, like, for you to be with, like, some random, like, woman and she's, like, calling me out for being, like, jealous.
Calling her out. And now, I would think the best way this goes is if he empathizes and says, yeah, even if in his head he's like, I don't really understand. But okay, so I'm hearing that you felt disrespected, you felt like I didn't have your back, and you felt like I was maybe flirting or I was interacting with this woman in a way that was disrespectful to you. Okay, you know, I don't think you're out of line. I can't relate because if I could, I wouldn't have done it. But everyone's different, and you had that reaction. I think a lot of other people would have had that reaction too. And I hear you, and I'll try not to do that again. I don't want to make you feel the way that it made you feel. And then you could, also follow it up with, once that's put aside, which might only be 80% put aside, then you could say, but it kind of started with you because I was just saying I wanted to do something funny and fun with those ducks, and you were saying it gave you the ick, and that hurt my feelings, and I wanted you to come over with me. I wasn't going over there to interact with a random person. I was saying, let's go over there, let's have some fun. And, you didn't want to do it, but then you said that it was unattractive or that it was gross to you, that I was gross. And I don't know, it's just kind of hurt. And so I don't know, I just thought, hey, maybe if I do it and you see it's not that bad, or I also feel like I was just wanting to do it out of my own self-respect of not giving in to someone having the ick about something that is so innocuous, just being goofy with some ducks. I don't know. That's what I was doing. And so do you understand where I'm coming from? Back and forth.
Can't
and
control
stuff, and
what
you just
she's
like
gonna
giggle
say.
and touch all over her.
I wasn't touching all over her.
I just felt like very disrespected. Like I'm supposed to be this person you love and this person like that you care about, right? But like you're sitting there with like, this random woman like giggling about me. Just like take me in that situation, right? And,
Right.
The amount of exaggerating. If you just heard her description, you would think that he beelined for this other woman and was groping her, and both of them were just laughing at Hannah. Look at that, Hannah, blah, 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 and it's definitely not what happened. Now, maybe she feels like she has to exaggerate it to make a point, or this is how it felt to her, and she's rewriting history. I don't know.
some guys over there, and like I'm talking to some like old guy, and like we're like chitter chatting, and like we're talking, and like you're Nick, you're like, hey Hannah, come over, and he was like, oh look at that guy, he's so jealous of you.
Yeah.
And like I was just like, you'd be like, what the fuck?
Okay, so that's not so bad. That's not as much of an exaggeration. He could in that moment. So the best thing he can do, which I think is reasonable, I can't relate to what she's saying, but I know a lot of people who would feel this way, and so she's giving him a chance, and he could in this moment say, yeah, I guess when you put it that way, you're right. If that's what happened, if you did that, then yeah, that would kind of irk me. I'll tell you that I don't think I would still be thinking about it. It would irk me a little bit in the moment. You're entitled to be irked, but I'll tell you, if you did that, yeah, I think I would feel a little sting, but I would also reassure myself and say, what do I think's going to happen here? That she's going to run off with this guy? No, she's just having fun. Who cares? We can all laugh at ourselves sometimes, but let's see what he says here.
We're going to be married, right? We're engaged, right? And we're going to get married.
I don't know if they edited that or he literally just stared at her blankly. I don't know.
I have concerns for like our relationship and like what we need to address to make sure that like we're 100% like when we go to the altar. Like I just want to make sure we're there.
Okay, I hope they're editing this because she keeps saying some pretty big things and she's having a lot of eye contact. She seems open to having conversation, and he is just blankly staring at her while he eats a hamburger. It's possible he's intoxicated as well and just kind of swimming in that. He doesn't look that intoxicated, but who knows? And they're making it so, I don't know. I just wish we had a two-shot, and if he truly just stared back at her and said nothing, which I'm going to assume didn't happen, because if it did, I think they would just show that. They're inserting the music also to kind of, I don't know, I'm guessing throw us off or something. But maybe the summary of what happened, regardless of what he said, is that he wasn't saying anything helpful or wasn't really engaging much. It kind of looks that way, right? So what does that say? Does that mean that he just isn't comfortable. I could see him just not being comfortable in these kind of conversations. Or I could also see him having turned a corner when she started exaggerating, and he could just be like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do to that? She's like making shit up in her head. What did I do? I didn't do anything wrong, right? I could see him retreating and avoiding from that. Not that that's the best course of action. I could see this being evidence that he bowed out of the relationship a while ago, or he wasn't really in it, or he was only half in it because he didn't want to become vulnerable after being dumped by her in the pods.
I agree. I'm not the only one delusional.
Wait, did I miss something? I don't know if they're just editing it really poorly, or these two are just, maybe particularly him, are just really weird communicators. Let's rewind that.
Dress to make sure that like we're 100% like when we go to the altar. Like I just want to make sure we're there.
And do you feel the same?
I agree. I'm not the only one delusional.
Yeah, they're editing it. Maybe they're just editing out silence for our sake, but it's hard to know. And he says, I agree. It is important to work on a relationship. I'm not the only one that's delusional. I don't even know if he knows what she meant by. I subsequently talked with my wife about that Delulu thing, and my wife was like, well, maybe she was saying he's delusional about how good looking he is or something. You know, it could be, but we haven't seen any direct evidence of that. Who knows? So he is hurt by that, which I think is normal. She would do well by saying, you know, hey, I'm sorry that I wrote that. Let me tell you what I meant by that. So there's that. And so what I think he was saying is you're delusional about what happened. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.